The mechanic simulator genre is something that has definitely grown in size. While it is still considered pretty niche for many gamers, a growing amount of games are released every day on Steam. While they aren't necessarily for me, I definitely see the charm and appeal with them. This brings us to today's game called Mech Mechanic Simulator. Instead of fixing up cars, as many of them are, we are tasked with taking various jobs to fix up various mechs of the future. A nice twist to the formula. Is this enough for the game to stand on its own? As a disclaimer, I did receive a free code from Poly/. While I do appreciate the free code, it will not deter me from a fair and honest review. Sounds good? Let's begin. When you start up a new game, you're greeted with a tutorial by your Android friend here. He will walk you through how to walk and navigate throughout the workshop, as well as let you know where everything is. When you unlock new features, he will walk you through how to use them. Overall, the game does a great job explaining the various mechanics. Pun intended. And speaking of this android, man, this dude will get annoying. He's fine in the tutorial, but outside of it, he has some corny jokes that are just painful to get through. It's not the voice actor's fault at all in this one, as the lines are just bad. Maybe that's the point, but thankfully you can turn his voice off in the settings. I'm pretty sure this was not out at launch and eventually patched in. For that, good on you, Poly/. The basic gameplay loop is to accept contracts to repair the various mechs within the game. The process of doing this involves scanning the robot for the problem to find where the problem is, removing the parts from the robots to either repair or replace them, put them back together, and be on your merry way. As you complete various jobs, you'll gain more money and reputation, which eventually leads to leveling up. Leveling up will unlock more equipment to purchase and play with and more advanced jobs. Instead of just cleaning and replacing parts, others will ask you to repaint the robot and additional tasks to obtain higher reputation gain. While most jobs can be completed at your leisurely pace, some will be considered rush jobs and will need to be completed in a short amount of time. These usually have higher payouts and add a bit of a challenge to the game. I tend to enjoy these more as they keep me on my toes and adds a sense of urgency that is often lacking here. When it comes to painting the mechs, I actually had a surprising amount of fun with this. Instead of just painting what the client wanted, I would also add a bunch of other decals that they didn't ask for. It's all good though, since I tell them it's on the house. Along with painting various mechs, there is a good amount of customization to play around with. You can customize the logo for your shop as well as paint it whatever way you want. This isn't a huge thing, but it is a nice little feature to add a bit of personal touch. From what I can gather, you can eventually build your own mechs. This sounds pretty awesome, but it definitely takes some time to get there. Like a lot of these games, it can get pretty grindy trying to get to the late game features such as these. Also, not sure if you can pilot them, but if you could, that'll be awesome. I just wish there was a head start feature or something to get me to the end game much faster. One thing I also really liked about this game was the atmosphere. Many games of this genre don't really have much, but there was something charming about the futuristic setting here. I like looking out the window, seeing the change in weather and various cars that would be flying by. It reminds me of a game I used to play called Scrapland, but I wonder if anyone even remembers that one. Presentation wise, the graphics are serviceable. However, the music is bland and incredibly repetitive. Most of it consists of generic rock, which clashes heavily with the futuristic setting here. I would have preferred a more electronica soundtrack, or maybe a mix of the two genres. Or heck, how about the ability to add your own songs to listen to, like the songs from Scrapland? As someone who enjoys these games from time to time, I can recommend it only if you are a fan of the genre. If you're not, however, this won't really convince you, as many of the same conventions are present here. It's still about being a mechanic and taking things apart, despite the focus being on mechs instead of cars. The grind is still a problem regarding getting to the late game features, and it can definitely get repetitive as a result. However, working on mechs instead of cars does have an appeal, and hopefully the developers can continue to support this title with more mechs and more quality of life features I mentioned before, like importing your own music. Apologies for this one being a short review compared to my others, but longer reviews will definitely be coming out in the future. As always, thank you for watching, and this is Powerhouse, signing off.